تبارك الله رب العالمين.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me? No.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Yes, no.
You can hear. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Right. الحمد لله الذي جعل ذكره طمأنينة للقلوب وجلاء لها عن رين الذنوب ومطرة لوسواس الخناس المكذوب، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الداعي إلى كل فعل محبوب وأمر مطلوب، وعلى آله وأصحابه المقتفين سبيله على خير أسلوب. أما بعد، فيقول رب تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المنزل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ألف لام ميم، أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون، ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فلا يعلمن الله الذين صدقوا ولا يعلمن الكاذبين. وقال تعالى: إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. وقال: كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله، ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do people think that they will be left to say, oh, we believe, and that they will not be tested? But we have certainly tried and tested those before them, and Allah will surely make evident those who are truthful, and He will make surely evident the liars. And He says, indeed we have offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and they declined to bear it and feared it. But man undertook it, he bare it. Indeed, he was unjust and ignorant. And Allah says, you are the best of nations produced as an example for mankind. You enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. Believe in Allah. If only people of the scripture had believed, it would have been better for them. Today, in our 21st session, where we continue our theme on parent-child relations. In our last session, we discussed the importance of instilling a genuine sense of gratitude in our children to inoculate them from becoming victims of this global epidemic of narcissism, which I explained in the earlier sessions. For those of you who are joining us today for the first time, please take an opportunity to go back and go over the session from the beginning if you have the time. It will help you to connect. In that, last week I explained that gratitude was one of those traits that was necessary to be. We need to instill that in our children, and that gratitude was more than just saying thank you. It was gratitude was a combination of three main areas of function. One is ilm, where knowledge, and ilm, hal, and amal. That knowledge, that gratitude comprised of being cognizant of the gifts you receive, and having genuine sense of gratitude in the heart, and showing gratitude in your actions, both in our speech and in our behavior. Because this is a key area where our focus for shaitan. Shaitan knew, the arifin, the scholars say that لو علم الشيطان أن طريقا توصل إلى الله أفضل من الشكر لوقف فيها. That if shaitan knew that there was any other path that leads that is better to leading to Allah, leading to the favor of Allah, then he would have stood in it. But what he say? ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين. That I will stand in ambush. I will attack them from all directions, right, left, center, from behind, from in front, from all around, and then you will not find ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين. That you will not find them. You will not find them, the children of Adam, grateful. And there is that, and then there is the command of Allah on each individual, on each person. There's this command, and what is the command? Is that anishkur li wa liwalidayk, show gratitude to me and to your parents. So Shaitan knows this, that if you disconnect from the gratitude, if you disconnect from showing gratitude first and foremost in that primary relationship, the first relationship, which is the parents, if you fail in that one, then you will fail in the others. Man lam yashkuri nas lam yashkuri Allah. That if you do not show gratitude to human beings, then you cannot show it to Allah, because ashukru liman fawqaka ta'atun, the one, and this is what the Noon al-Masri explaining shukr and explaining gratitude, he says that shukr is liman fawqaka ta'atun, that it is bitta'ati, that that those who are above you, showing gratitude to those who are above you, who are senior to you, is in obedience, is in ta'a. وَلِنَذِيرِكَ بِالْمُكَافَآتِ, and then for those who are of at your level, for them it is with reciprocity. وَلِمَنْ دُونَكَ بِالْإِحْسَانِ وَالْإِفْضَالِ, and those who are below you, those who are younger than you, those to whom you are senior, then it is with kindness and showing favor to them. Because there is an emphasis in the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man lam yashkur al-qalil lam yashkur al-kathir. This is hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the one who does not show gratitude for the little things in our world, the little things that they receive, then they will not be able to show gratitude. Lam yashkur al-kathir. He will not be able to show gratitude for the large things. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَشْكُرِ النَّاسِ لَمْ يَشْكُرِ اللَّهِ. You will not. So the point was to recognize, to have ilm, to notice the favors that you receive, such that not only the ones that is in front of you, but recognize that with each gift there is a gift behind it. The gift of kindness, the gift of a kind heart that produced the gift in the giver. The gift of hands with which to give. The gift of fingers. Behind the gift of hands is the gift of fingers to touch the gift. Allah has given us fingers to touch the gift. Behind that you have the gift of thumbs, the gift to hold the gift of strength to interact with the gift of eyes to see the gift of mind to know the gift of time to receive the gift and gift upon gift upon gift, and ultimately it leads to the gift. Ultimately is all from Allah. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Everything you have is from Allah. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَن تُحْصُوهَا. That you cannot, if you were to count the favors of Allah on you, we cannot count it, because for each one there is a gift behind it, and you will be unable to count it. And knowing that Allah is the true giver, and His gifts surrounds us, His favors surrounds us in the millions and in countless ways throughout our lives. And he says that my treasures are unlimited. And he says that أَلَوْ أَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ قَامُوا فِي صَعِيدٍ وَاحِدٍ. That if all of you, all the human beings and all the jinn stood up at once and asked, they decided to ask for whatever comes in their imagination. Take your imagination to the limit and ask of Allah. And He gives each of you, each of us, everything we ask for. ما نقص ذلك مما عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا أدخل البحر. That if He gives that, He fulfills the wishes of everything we can think about. It will not diminish from His treasures, from the treasures of Allah, more than a needle dipped into an ocean. That is Allah. So, من أعطي عطاءً, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, من أعطي عطاءً فوجد, and he's met it, فليحذر به ومن لم يجد فليثني عليه. So if you are given فليجزي به, that من أعطي عطاء فليجزي به, that فوجد, if he is able to recompense, if he is able to reciprocate, then he should, and if not, then he should show gratitude in praising the person, in being kind. فقد شكر من كتم ومن كتم فقد كفر. And the one who conceals his gratitude, who conceals the gift and pretends that he is deserving of it, to no one, that I'm, and this is what I was saying about the sense of entitlement, that we have this sense of entitlement, that Allah, that we, as a result of this narcissistic personalities that is developing, and we have it in varying degrees. We might not be fully blown narcissists, but we have characteristic traits of it in ourselves because of the exposure to the epidemic. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, I ask you to go and read about people who have read. There are books that are being published now about this epidemic, the epidemic of narcissism. You can read those. Now, the point here is that if you do not recognize that this is, that if you hide things, then remember what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying here. He's saying, وَمَنْ كَتَمَ فَقَدْ كَفَرْ, that the one who covers up the gifts that they receive without showing, without recognizing, without acknowledging it, without saying it, without praising the person, without recognizing it, then that is kufr. Because kafara yakfuru means to cover something. This is why the farmer is called a kafir, because he covers the seed with the soil. And so there is another hadith عن طلحة من أولي معروفا, who receives a kindness from someone, فليذكره, then he should mention it. Mentioning the good, yes. So the emphasis is on all three. But a person who is suffering from narcissistic personality, they refrain from mentioning even the gifts and they cover it up. So for this we have to recognize that فمن كفر فمن شكر ومن كتمه فقد كفر, that this is associated with kufr. That whoever hides their ma'ruf, hide the good deeds, the favors that they receive, then they will be classed they will be indulging in an act of kufr. Wa na'udhu billah. Now today I'd like to continue in that with our treatment. How do we prepare our children and inoculate them, protect them from this epidemic? And for that we want to move on to the third category, but I know that everyone is worried about the other epidemic that we are facing right now, the epidemic of the virus. And so I will try to speak about that a bit towards the end, time permitting, inshallah. But in regard to today's point, today's trait, the trait that we need to inculcate in our children, we need to recognize certain things, a few things before I go into that directly. Well, one is that the nature of modern minds. One of the tragedies of modern mindset is that we tend to focus heavily on the meaning of things in our possession, the meaning of material stuff around us. For example, the example of the purpose of technology. We talk a lot about that, and we talk about, because we are engaged with it, we benefit from it, we are surrounded by these, and we are cognizant of the purpose of each of these items. We know the purpose of a phone, we know the purpose of our car, and we are cognizant of the purposes of all these items in our homes, not only at the time of purchase, but throughout the time that they remain in our homes. The fridge, the stove, the cooker, the gadgets, everything. Each of these things embody meaning for us through their purpose, because there is meaningful purpose behind their existence. Now, when it comes to the purpose of the human being, we're not that conscious. That, in fact, our minds struggle to settle on the correct answer, even when we know a correct answer. Knowing the correct answer to a question and having that answer present in our minds, such that it influences our thinking, on our choices, or the decisions we make, is an entirely different matter. So, if we were to look at this more broadly, we will see that there are consequences to not having meaning in life. If there's no clear purpose to your life, then life itself becomes worthless. And this is why we see that people who suffer from depression and anxiety, or people with suicidal thoughts, they express the same mantra. They say that I'm just worthless. There's no point to life. Why do I live? My life is worthless. So the loss of meaning in life it leads to a drastic reduction of the worth of life itself, which is totally natural, because that is exactly how we treat objects in our world. Things that cease to serve their purpose are discarded. This is what we do. We put light bulbs that no longer light, we throw them in the garbage. We discard of items that lose their purpose. And likewise, many people who are disconnected from the purpose of life think of themselves as worthless when they reflect on it. Therefore, having a sense of purpose and responsibility gives meaning to life, and this is something that is necessary not only for children but for adults. As Muslims, we need to not only know the answer to the question when asked, but to be cognizant of it, to be cognizant of our purpose throughout our lives. That has to be an underlying thought, an underlying realization, a bedrock of our thinking in our day-to-day lives. How do we function from day to day? That has to be an overwhelming, something that permeates everything we do, because we need consistency in the structure, in the hierarchy of our purposes in life, our pursuits in life. Now, the best way to create meaning in our lives is to recognize and embrace our responsibilities, and to see them as the purpose of our existence on the planet. To be able to do this, you need two things. First is the ability to recognize the difference between responsibility and futility, between purpose and vanity, because some people get confused. They see the purpose of life as vanity, vain things like the pursuit of happiness. People may declare that my purpose in life is to seek enjoyment, to seek entertainment, as we see the world is obsessed with entertainment today, and that becomes, even though you might not express that in those words, the choices you make, the behavior, what is known in Arabic, lisanu halihi, your condition, the condition of your state, what you are doing is articulating this, that the purpose of my life is actually seeking entertainment, because that's my default. In everything I do, I'm seeking to default towards entertainment and seeking to be released from every responsibility I have, so that I could be entertained, so that I could go back to a screen, so that I could seek, so when that becomes the default, then that's your main purpose. The hierarchies are turned upside down. Now, the second thing you need, in order for this to function, is at your disposal is the structuring of these responsibilities in a coherent manner, to avoid contradiction and conflict, so you don't become conflicted. Now, fortunate for us, Islam provides us with both of these conceptions, through the concept of ibadah, al-ubudiyya. For a Muslim, Allah has made both of these easy for us. The sense of responsibility is established in a variety of ways, and all are coherent with each other. First, you have the super purpose, the primary goal, which is that وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that men and jinn were not created except for worship. And then كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. So everything that a human being does is coherent with this primary responsibility, which is to worship. And then you're told individually that كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ, that you have been chosen you have a purpose. Your purpose in life is that you guide to the right and you forbid to the evil. Now, you do that, where do you start? What's the primary responsibility you have as human beings? The primary responsibility is with those who are in your care. Who are in your care? That's the first and foremost, because that's where Allah is saying this responsibility is it's fardan wa jama'atan. It is with every individual. The responsibility is universal, with every individual and every grouping. So Rasulullah ﷺ did not only say, oh, well, your Muslims are, the leaders are responsible. He went through and he paid attention to the entire social structure, going from level to level to level, he says, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ, that you are all responsible, عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, that you are all responsible for whomsoever is in your care. فَالْإِمَامُ رَاعٍ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, that the imam is responsible and he is mas'ool. There is accountability. And this is what responsibility in Islam is. This is known as mas'uliyah. Ash-shu'ur bil-mas'uliyah. It is the sense of responsibility is linked to ash-shu'ur. Al-mas'uliyati alladhi ya'qibuhu al-hisab. That something that is linked to a responsibility that is closely connected to accountability, a sense of accountability. So when he says al-imamu ra'in, he didn't, okay, kullukum mas'ulun, he didn't make the sentence only general, but he went for the specific in explaining it. Fal-imamu ra'in, the imam is responsible, he is a shepherd, and he is وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, he is responsible for his flock. وَالرَّجُلُ رَاعٍ فِي أَهْلِهِ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, and the man, the father of the house, is responsible for his family. وَهُوَ مَسْئُولٌ, and he will be questioned in regard to his family. وَالْمَرْأَةُ, and the mother also is also في بيت زوجها راعية ومسؤول عن رعيتها, and she is also responsible for those who are in her care. And then he doesn't stop there. He says وَالْخَادِمُ, and even the servant, the slave in the house, is also a responsible person. The slave or the servant or anyone who is within, who has been given a responsibility of care. وَالْخَادِمُ فِي مَالِ سَيْدِهِ وَهُوَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, the things that he's given care of, then he is responsible. Everyone is responsible. So this sense of responsibility is universal for every human being, and that has to be done. أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Did you think that we created you in vain and that you will not be brought back? You'll be brought back. And وَلَا تَزُولُ قَدَمَ عَبْدٍ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ حَتَّى يُسْأَلْ, that on the day of judgment, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam explains to us, he tells us that we will not be allowed to move on the day of judgment. In other words, to walk off without, on the day of judgment, unless we're asked about 5 things. فِي عُمْرِهِ فِيمَا أَفْنَى, to be asked about your life, in what did you spend your life? وَعَنْ عِلْمِهِ فِيمَا عَمِلَ, and of the knowledge you had, of what did you follow? وَعَنْ مَالِهِ مِنْ أَيْنَ اكْتَسَبَهُ وَفِيمَا أَنْفَقَهُ, and his wealth. He will be asked about his wealth, the question about the wealth. From where did you get it, and where did you spend it? وَعَنْ جِسْمِهِ فِيمَا أَبْلَاهُ, and his body, where did he spend, where did he use it, where did he make it, where did he make it, where did he spend and use the body for, where did he wear it out? Abla, where did he wear it out? In other words, in what did he spend it? In the strength of the body, where did he use it? These are questions that will be asked. And then there is a diqqatu fil hisab. One has to remember that this will not be just generalized questions about, okay, well, what you did, just give us some CV answers, okay, well, oh yeah, I did so and so in this year and this year. No. Allah is making this absolutely clear. Look, there's no shortage of time here. There's no gap. There's no restrictions. So we are told in the Quran, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ, that whosoever does an atom's weight of good, he will see it. And whosoever does an atom's weight of evil, he will see it. So this is the task. Now, as for adults who have this responsibility of the children, responsibilities starts with being able to set the example. So as adults, we need to be able to set examples and recognize that every organ in our body has a responsibility of control, especially in the care, when we have care of others. We are examples to them. They follow us when children are in our care. So as the ulama says that this is al-mas'uliyatu ab'adun tashmalu jami' wujud al-insan, that the responsibility is something that covers the entire being of the human being, kullu 'adwin min a'dha'ihi مسؤولا, that every organ of, so فاللسان مسؤول عن قول الحق وعدم قول السوء, فلا يغتاب ولا ينم ولا يلدغ ولا, that the tongue has a responsibility to speak the truth and to speak and to avoid saying bad things. والأذن مسؤول عن سماع الحق, that listening to the right things, the ears, and so it is the eyes we have to control. As adults in the care of children, we have to be able to control our eyes, our hands, our mouth, our hands, our feet, where we go, what we do. Now, inculcating this sense of responsibility requires a concerted effort on the part of parents. In fact, it is the responsibility on the shoulder of every parent, and there is no escaping this. This has to be made clear. As parents, we have to recognize that if a child grows up with the wrong conception of purpose, then we should know that this we may share in the blame. For Allah makes it absolutely clear in the Quran, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا, save yourselves and your family from the fire. This is amr. You are asked to do this. So when and how do we teach our children this? How do we teach our children this sense of responsibility? When do we start this? The answer to this is early. We need to start this at a very young age. Not wait until their teenage years and then expect them to know everything. Because I have teenagers, come to me and said, "Oh, my parents never taught me to clean up, never taught me to do things in the house, and now suddenly they want me to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to take responsibility, and now there's tension in the house because they expect me to do things." Because parents are usually who are teaching their children to study and to focus on their career, their academic career, seem to think that they're helping their children by not asking them to take responsibility of other aspects of their life, praying, getting up for Fajr, doing things that they need to do. And then suddenly when they reach in the teenage years, they expect the children to do these things, and then the children are confused. You never told me to do this. How come I'm asked to do this? And the problem is that we have neglected it too late. So, first thing we have to remember is that this must be early. You have to start at an early age. And this is what the ulama have stressed. And what do? You connect the responsibility to Allah, that Allah knows what you are doing. Because children instinctively know that Allah is there, that they instinctively understand. They can be called to attention. They instinctively understand Allah. They will recognize. You can call their attention to reflect on Allah, and they will not. That nothing could be hidden from Allah. If you say to a child that if you do that, Maggie will know, they will ask you, "Oh, so who is Maggie?" But if you say if you do that, Allah will know, they will not ask you. They will understand straight away. There is something instinctive in children. They understand. They know. لا يخفى عليه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. يعلم خائنة الأعين وما تخفي الصدور. There's nothing that's hidden from Allah in the heavens and the earth, and He knows the treachery of the eye, the slippage of the eye, وما تخفي الصدور, and what is in the heart. Now, one of the main traits that lead people into forgetting this purpose, their true purpose in life, which is to make it successful for their return through ibadah, is their involvement with the world and then falling in love with the world. حب الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. Love of the world may be the primary way of falling into all kinds of difficulty. So greed is one of the things, is the main thing. So when the child is growing up, in children, they in the early years they do anything without they will touch anything, hold anything, grab anything. But then as they grow up, they reach to a point where they start to develop shyness. And that is what Imam Ghazali says, that this is a sign, alamatu istinaratil aql, that this is a time when you see that the child's mind has suddenly become illuminated. They're starting to recognize that some things you do and some things you don't. So, and this is expressed through being shy. Shyness helps the child for pulling away from doing things. And so you have to then guide that. They have to know what are the things that they should be ashamed of, to have hesitancy, and what are the things they should do. Because that istinaratul aql, that light in the mind, is the thing that needs to be guided, needs to be helped. And the first place that they develop. Because if you allow their first interaction with closeness to the dunya, where it develops, where this is at the point is around food. And this is why Imam Ghazali lists 15 things you have to pay attention to with the child, because their first interaction and enjoyment with the world apart from the parent is in their interaction with food. So he says it's connecting to Allah at that point, and going through these 15 things with them is where you start, and that's just the start. It says that, and this is what he wrote. He said, أول ما يغلب عليه من صفات شره الطعام. That the first place where a child will start to develop blameworthy characteristics is around food. فينبغي أن يؤدب فيها, and he needs to be taught. The child needs to be taught at that around food. The first one is أن لا يأخذ الطعام إلا بيمينه. So this is the first responsibility, is that he has to say that I do not take the food except with my right hand. So he's learning responsibility of using the right hand. Number 2, أن يقول عليه بسم الله عند أخذه, and he says he remembers Allah at the point of taking it. Number 3, أن يأكل مما يلي, that he eats from what is close to him. He does not jump into others. So the greed, controlling the greed. Number 4, أن لا يبادر إلى الطعام قبل غيره, that he does not go into the food before others start. Number 5, أن لا يحدق النظر إليه ولا ينظر إلى ما يأكل, that he does not stare at the food and stare at the mouths of other people while they are eating. Number 6, أن لا يسرع في الأكل, that he does not eat with hastily. Number 7, أن يجيد المضغ, that he should chew his food properly. Number 8, أن لا يوالي بين اللقم, and he does not stuff the food down one after the other, mouthful after mouthful. Number 9, أن لا يلطخ يده ولا ثوبه, that he does not mess himself and his clothes with the food. Number 10 is that أن يعود الخبز القفاض ببعض الأوقات حتى لا يصير بحيث أن يرى الأدم حتما, that he should be given bread alone to eat sometimes, so that he does not feel that having broth with bread is compulsory at all times. Number 11, أن يقبح عنده كثرة الأكل ويشبه كل من يكثر الأكل بالبهائم, that and you should denounce and criticize the eating of excessive eating, and draw the comparison with animal, that this is animalistic behavior to eat like an animal. وبأن يذم بين يديه, and to criticize those who do that. Number 12 is أن يمدح عنده الصبي المتأدب قليل الأكل, and you should praise children who are respectful and honorable at the time of eating, and who eats little. Number 13 is أن يحبب إليه الإيثار بالطعام, that you teach him to share his food. You teach him sharing of the food. Number 14 is قلة المبالاة به, is that you don't spend all your life talking and speaking about food, watching videos about how to cook food when you're not eating, and when you're eating, it's either the life is all about food. And this is becoming another problem, where we're either sharing pictures of food, we're talking about food, or we're watching videos about food, or we are eating. That has to, what that does is that you don't realize that for a child, that is their first engagement with the sweetness of the world, and then eventually it leads into greed. Number 15 is القناعة بطعام الخشن أي طعام كان. Number 15 is that you should be teach the child to be contented with food, with simple food, with bland food, with food, and of all kinds of food, that's simple food, not to make it rafahi, that is, they have to have superfood in order to be able for them to exist. And all of this is training them to develop a sense of restraint and to be responsible with the dunya. And this is where it starts. And as they grow up, the advice and the reminder should be a staple with all other things. Avoid giving rewards for routine responsibilities. Today we give Nobel Prizes because somebody has made their bed. No, this is not what a parent is supposed to do. You have to teach them about consequences. That look, there are consequences for your actions. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, then they are conscious, and speak to them with kind words. Set examples of the behavior, show appreciation, but then make it pleasant and inclusive. Don't say that this is what you must do. Say this is what we do. We do not do this. Use the pronoun we, that we do not do this. And this is what we do. You show them how to pick the table up, how to do this, but you use we, nahnu. This is what we do. Now, okay, we're running out of time. Now, to end, I want to give you a story of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and his sense of responsibility. He was a man came to give him the report of a certain late in the night, so he got up of one of his places where he was ruling, and he brought a large candle, lit it, and then he took the reports. And then towards the end, the man said to him that, look, so how are you now, and how's your family? And he quickly blew the candle out and called the servant and said, oh, bring the lamp. And they brought a tiny little lamp with a wick lamp, one of these you could hardly see. And the man said, well, why did you do this? He said, now you can ask me about my family. He said, why did you do this? He said, and his response was, Ya Abdullah, inna الشمعة التي أدفعتها من مال الله ومال المسلمين. That candle belonged to Allah and the Muslims. وكنت أسألك عن حوائجهم وأمرهم. And I was asking you about the need and about the state of the Muslims. وكانت تلك شمعة تقعد بين يدي. That this was for them and for him. That is مال المسلمين. فلما صرت لشأني وأمر عيالي ونفسي فأطفأت النار. But when you start asking about me and my family, then I extinguish that. That was their level of sense of responsibility. Even to that level. What he did is that he took the Umar radiallahu anhu used to say that لو مات شاة على فرات ضاعية لظننت أن الله سائلي عنها يوم القيامة. That if a sheep were to die on the banks of the river, lost and die on the banks of the river, I fear that Allah may ask me about it on the day of judgment. This was their sense of responsibility, not like the responsibilities that the people in responsible places today who are usurping the wealth of the Muslims in trillions and trillions. This is not what sense of responsibility is. That's where we need to get, like the likes of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and Umar radiallahu anhu. To start, we have to start young with our children. May Allah make our children those who recognize responsibility and are grateful and show gratitude to you. And inshallah, we'll have to arrange for another session. We're running out of time now to talk about the virus. And what I would urge you to do is to listen to the previous bayan that we did, the previous lecture, which is I think number 20, and try to go through the series. I will circulate another link, inshallah, for us to have another session, inshallah. Wa jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
تبارك الله